Good day, my SC viewers. This is Satellite Media. If you are new to the channel, kindly like, share, subscribe, and please do not forget to hit the notification bell. Let's look at this surprising development coming from Miyetti Allah. Of course, we are looking at the crisis rocking the country in terms of activities of Fulani militias, because the governor of Pleateu State, Mufwang, submitted a proposal to the committee of the Senate and Rep that is seeking to amend the constitution secret to state police. But surprisingly, Miyetti Allah, the umbrella body of Fulani in Pleateu State, is rejecting state police. That is surprising. But meanwhile, let me get you the news leading to this. I'm reading from Daily Post. It says, Pleateu crisis, Marban disagree with Governor Mufwang on state police. You go further to say that Pleateu State chapter of the Miyetti Allah Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria, Marban, has disagreed with Governor Caleb Mufwang's proposal for the creation of state police by the federal government to curb the incessant attack and killings in the state. You go further to say that Mufwang had made the call over the weekend during the two-day public hearing of the Senate Committee on the review of the 1999 Constitution for the North Central Zone held in Jos, the state capital. While making the proposal, the governor had stated that the solution to the security challenges that has bedeviled the state since 2021 can only be curbed with a state police formation. This is surprising, seeing that Miyetti Allah is opposing state police. We understand that there have been serious crises in Pleateu, in Benue, in Southern Kaduna, in Taraba, occasioned by the excesses of Fulani henchmen. But it is becoming surprising seeing that the same Fulani who have seriously been accused is the one rejecting state police. I think it goes to show that the Miyetti Allah as a body have questions to answer in this regard. But again, let us remember that in 2024, the same Miyetti Allah sought to establish security in the southeastern part of the country, to establish to establish Vigilante group in the southeastern part of the country. Let me bring you so that to refresh your memory on this. He's saying governors reject Miyetti Allah's push for Vigilante group in southeast. You go further to say that the Southeast Governors Forum have rejected the demand by the Miyetti Allah Cattle Breeders Association, Marban, for establishment of Vigilante group in the Southeast to protect their members. The Marban made the proposal during the Southeast Security Summit held in Enugu last week. The summit was convened by the Southeast Governor Forum to proffer solution to lingering clashes between herders and farmers in the region. So it is becoming surprising that even the Miyetti Allah that has been accused severally of being behind all the violence activities, of course their members have been accused of being behind violent activities in the country, would be the one rejecting a proposal that seek to solve this age-long issue. We all know that state police is the way to go, and local vigilantes, we can see the wonderful work they have been doing in different parts of the country. And again, let us not even forget that even the Miyetti Allah chairman, the national chairman, talking about Bodejo, was arrested some time ago by the federal government for establishing a security outfit, arming them without the consent of federal government. He was actually charged to court, but at the time, the government, through the office of the Attorney General of the Federation, dropped the charges and he was released. But subsequently, later this year, the military arrested him. And as we speak, the government have since secured court order to keep him for 2 months to enable them conclude investigation. And guess what? The allegation against him was that he is sponsoring, or rather he's into banditry. Though it is still in the realm of allegation, he has not been tried and found guilty. But I want to tell you that the government has since secured court order to keep him for 2 months to enable them to conclude investigation. And I want to believe that he's still in custody. But again, let me quickly say that if the Miyetti Allah and their members do not want people to heal without relief, I think the best thing for the government to do to save life is to allow people go for a referendum as a way of determining their fate. Because currently the security arrangement we have is not able to protect the people, and Nigerians cannot continue living at the mercy of the bandits who are majorly of Fulani extraction. And come to think of it, these same Fulani militias, global terrorism desk see them as fourth most dangerous terrorist organization in the world. Come to think of almost all the terrorist leaders, all the bandit leaders in the country, the known ones, I think they are of Fulani extraction. Is it the Toji Bello that have been wreaking havoc in parts of Zamfara State? Is it the Ada Aleru that is terrorizing some parts of Zamfara and Katsina State, who even recently had meeting with the governors of these 2 states? But I think the ultimate thing is, if the government know that they are not able to address this, let us address it through self-referendum. I'm saying it particularly because what Nnamdi Kanu, for instance, stands for is self-determination. And the reason he's going for self-determination is simple. Nigerian government is a signatory to UN Charter. Of course, Article 1, subsection 2 of UN Charter states that one of the main purposes of United Nations, and thus the Security Council, is to develop friendly international relations based on respect for principle of equal rights and self-determination of the people. So you can place, and the important thing here is that Nigerian government is already a signatory to this UN Charter. So to that extent, it's a law in Nigeria legal jurisprudence. I think that best explain the reason, even in all of the areas Nnamdi Kanu is being tried, nobody is tried based on self-determination. Because of course the Nigerian government know that self-determination is a right that is incumbent on any Nigerian who decide to take advantage of that law. So if these people will not allow people rest, I think the best thing to do is to allow people go their separate way through self-referendum. And again, I've been saying it, that the best the government could even do is, if they want to put Nnamdi Kanu to shame, let us try this self-determination. Because if you go by self-determination, perhaps you go and canvass opinion to the people who are saying they want to succeed, and you invite maybe what body like UN, European Union, to organize organize referendum. Even the event that those who say they want to stay in Nigeria outnumber those that say they want to go, definitely we would have put those that is agitating to shame. And I think that is what the government should look towards if the Fulani militias will not allow anybody rest. Because these are people who came into the country in sometime 14th century, find their way in Nigeria and settle in Sokoto. Before you knew it, they were able to establish Sokoto Emirate, which is equally seen as the Fulani Caliphate. And today, they are everywhere. We saw how they came to Ilore, how the Afonja issue happened, and of course, today, that area has been fallen to Fulani in terms of leadership. But again, looking at Article 20 of African Charter on Human and People's Rights, it states clearly that all people have right to existence and an unquestionable and inalienable right to self-determination. Let me quickly tell you again that Nigerian government is already a signatory to this African, this article of African Charter. Nigerian government is a signatory to it. To that extent, it's equally a right in Nigerian legal jurisprudence. So you can clearly see that once we talk about self-determination, it's a law in Nigeria. And of course, like I said, let the government look in that direction. If this Miyetti Allah people, or rather the Fulani henchmen, will not allow people to breathe free air. Because from what we are seeing, there's every need to rejig the security architecture. And if the authorities are facing brick wall, they are not able to confront the Fulani, I think it's better they allow people to go their separate ways. Because we understand that restructuring, the government is not interested in restructuring, because otherwise there's no reason restructuring should be delaying up to now. So for me, I don't see any reason why the governor would make a proposal for state police in a state like Pleateu that witnessed killing, maiming, raping in recent time, and even previously, how Miyetti Allah will be opposing it. Because the other time we saw the mass killing in Bokos and Basa local government area of Pleateu states. Before the dust of that killing could settle down, we saw another one in Benue State. The one that drew world attention, that even saw the president visiting. And each time you make laws to even contain their excesses, they go offensive, they go violent. We understand that in the past, the same Benue State and Ekiti State came up with laws to prohibit open grazing. At the time, all we are hearing is clashes, resistance from Miyetti Allah. I understand that even currently, the Fulani in Delta State, in some part of Delta State, are even establishing vigilante groups. Of course, I think the state government should rise to the occasion and dismantle such group, seeing that federal government is already dealing with the one that came from their chairman himself, talking about Bodejo. We cannot continue living at the mercy of Fulani. Because as a people, before the white men came here talking about the British government, Nigerians in their respective ways were living and doing their things separately. And let me say that about providence, God did not create Nigeria as one. I can confidently say this because naturally, by providence, there are some unifying factors that you don't have control over. Talking about language, for instance. The Hausas have their distinct language given to them by providence. The Yorubas have their distinct language given to them by providence. The Igbos have their separate language given to them by providence. And the same thing is applicable to other ethnic minorities in Nigeria. So that extent, it shows that people were created differently by providence. However, it is not out of place to come together under this one entity called Nigeria, but it has to be through unanimous agreement. Not what we have currently, that is coercion. Because the current grandeur, the constitution that binds everybody together in Nigeria, was forced on Nigerians by the military. And you go to the preamble of that constitution, you tell you that we, the people of Nigeria, decided to come together. And I challenge anyone. I've not seen anywhere, I've not read any time where Nigerians came together for the purpose of that constitution. And every attempt to have a people-oriented constitution has always been resisted by those who currently benefit from the current fraudulent status quo. Come to think of it, who decide how many states should be given to each region? It was the military. Who decided how the country should be broken into 6 geopolitical zones? It is the military. And in all of this, the opinion of people was not sought. For instance, we used to have this eastern region that controlled all the way from Ebonyi to Delta to even Edo states. But currently you fragment everything, give people different identity to the point that even some people refuse to accept their origin in what we currently see that happens in Nigeria now, particularly in the southeast. We have seen people from Ikwe, for instance, who ordinarily they will speak Igbo, but they come back later to tell you that they are not Igbo. You begin to wonder, somebody is speaking a language and denying that he's not from that ethnic group. And this is purely because of the divide and rule the military used to create states, create regions and all that. And I think the genesis of all this is the Gowon that refused to abide by the agreement reached at Aburi. Because if you look at all the problems we are facing in Nigeria currently, you agree with me that 80% of it were already solved by the Aburi Accord. But when they came out of the Aburi, the agreement was that one, police should be decentralized. The military should be decentralized. Of course, it was purely a confederation. Just like people said, that though the confederation never came from elites, but that it was reached and agreed at the end of the day. But it was unfortunate that the Nigerian government, Nigerian state, under the leadership of Gowon, came back from Aburi and denied everything. That led to the civil war. And I want to tell you that all the problem solution we are looking for today was already contained in the Aburi Accord. So the point is, we must, as a people, as a country, think out of the box. Because you cannot continue doing the same thing over and over and expect a different result. Good thing, the current Director General of DSS, talking about Ajayi, made it very clear recently that going forward, communities should be empowered to be the first line of defense in case of invasion. We are seeing invasion in different parts of the country, even in the FCT, we are seeing invasion of monumental dimension, even as it has to do with the military formation. And according to the director of DSS, he even cited 2 instances where in the north, in the past, 2 communities successfully repelled invaders, and up to date, those communities have not witnessed such invasion in the history of their time. So, for me, the Fulani militias must be put to their place. And again, Nigerian government have failed to acquire monopoly of coercive power. Because whatever, if you must be a country, a sovereign state, you must exert coercive power within all the territorial integrity of the country. That is obviously lacking in Nigeria. Because the last of Toji Bello, who the other time celebrated burning down of military vehicle, as you understand, he is still within Nigerian sovereignty. And he is even issuing threats, fresh threats to Nigerians in that part of the country. We saw Ado Aleru recently, who held meeting with the governors of Katsina and Zamfara. And he came into the meeting from a point of strength with his boys fully armed. You begin to wonder what an affront. For me, that was an affront to the Nigerian government, Nigerian sovereign state, seeing a wanted bandit leader who bounty of 5 million is on his head, coming to have meeting with state governors. That is the highest level of affront. Now, the military have told us that Toji Bello is a working corpse, that he will be neutralized in the battlefield, or maybe apprehended and brought to justice to act as deterrence to others. But as we speak, it's not on record that Toji Bello have been neutralized or arrested to face prosecution. Though the military made it very clear recently that his brother, his relative, who of course acts as his operational henchman, operational backbone, have been neutralized in battlefield. A decision, or rather a situation that even made Toji Bello himself, according to the government and the military, to start suing for peace, or rather for negotiation. But again, let me say that world over, no government negotiates with such bandits. Because we are dealing with internal crisis. This is not an external aggression, but somebody who is in the country who is causing problem. And what is important here is that even the governor of Zamfara State made it clear the other time, a shocking revelation, that these bandits are people from their own state, from his own state. It's not as if you have foreigners who are coming from somewhere to come and cause havoc for here. These are people, according to the governor, who hail from his own state, who they can know where they come from, their community, their relatives, and all that. So why is it difficult for the government to deal with? We understand that some time ago, even Toji Bello was turbined. Again, the call for self-referendum cannot be emphasized if the government have not gotten the wherewithal to deal with this issue. Because Nigerians cannot continue living at the mercy of these bandits. We understand that Dr. Ishako, as governor of Taraba State, was very vehement in his position when the military sought to disarm citizens who were very armed in the society. He advised the military that, first of all, go and disarm bandits who hibernate in the bushes and the forest, come at the middle of the night, drag the citizens out of their houses, maim, kill without resistance. Of course, it makes no sense disarming people and leave them at the mercy of the bandits. I think as a country, as a people, we must think and decide what we want, and we must realize that continue doing the same thing over and over will not yield a positive result. Thank you very much.